Your worth is not determined by the way others see you. Too often, we allow the opinions of others to dictate how we view ourselves. When someone rejects us, dismisses us, or even leaves us behind, it's easy to internalize their actions as a reflection of our value. We question ourselves, wondering if we're not enough, if we're not worthy of love, respect, or success. But here's the truth. Your worth isn't defined by the opinions of others. It's anchored in something far greater. From a young age, we are conditioned to seek validation from the people around us. We're taught that if others approve of us, we are valuable, and if they don't, we aren't. This creates a cycle of self-doubt and insecurity as we try to mold ourselves into what we think others want. But when we tie our worth to people who can't fully understand or appreciate us, we set ourselves up for disappointment. No human being can give us the validation that we truly need because no one knows us like we know ourselves. And more importantly, no one sees the gifts and potential that God has placed inside of us. We often look to the outside world to tell us who we are, but the truth is the world doesn't get to define us. People will come and go, opinions will shift, and circumstances will change, but your value remains constant because it's rooted in your identity as a child of God. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You have been crafted with purpose and design, with strengths, talents, and abilities that are unique to you. The world didn't create you, and the world can't take away the worth that has been placed inside of you. When others fail to recognize your value, it's not because it isn't there. It's simply because they aren't equipped to see it. Not everyone is going to understand you or appreciate the depth of who you are, and that's okay. The people who walk away, the ones who doubt you or the ones who reject you, they don't have the power to diminish your worth. They can't take away the essence of who you are or the gifts that God has entrusted to you. Their actions are a reflection of their own understanding or lack thereof, not a measure of your significance. And here's the thing, your worth doesn't depend on being accepted by others. We often believe that if we're loved, admired, or validated by people, then we are enough. But real fulfillment doesn't come from external sources. It comes from knowing that we are enough simply because God says we are. We don't have to earn our worth through people's approval. We already have it because God has declared it. Your worth is inherent. It doesn't change based on your circumstances, and it doesn't fluctuate based on how others treat you. When you truly understand this, everything changes. You no longer look for validation in the wrong places. You no longer measure your self-worth by how many people love or admire you. Instead, you find peace in knowing that God has already made you enough. You are enough, not because of what you do or how others see you, but simply because of who you are. This shifts everything because now your worth comes from a place of inner confidence, not from external validation. You can walk into any room, face any challenge, and know that you are worthy regardless of how others treat you. Understanding your worth also empowers you to make better decisions. When you know your value, you won't settle for less than what you deserve. You won't allow people to treat you poorly or take advantage of you. You will no longer accept toxic relationships, bad environments, or situations that make you feel small. When you understand your worth, you set standards for how you expect to be treated, and you will not tolerate anything less. This understanding of your worth also helps you to avoid getting caught in the trap of comparison. It's easy to look at others and think they're doing better, achieving more, or getting further ahead. But the truth is your journey is yours and yours alone. No one else's success diminishes your potential. The accomplishments and paths of others do not take away from your own. When you know your worth, you're able to stand firm in who you are without the need to compete or compare. You're able to celebrate others' successes without feeling threatened because you know that your worth is not tied to what others achieve. Your worth also empowers you to persevere. In times of trial, when you face rejection or disappointment, it's easy to feel like you're not enough. But when you know your worth, you understand that setbacks do not define you. Just because someone walked away doesn't mean you're any less valuable. Just because a door closed doesn't mean your purpose has been derailed. Your worth is unshakable, and it is not dependent on circumstances. You can rise above every challenge because you know that your value isn't tied to the outcome of the situation. In the end, understanding your worth is about knowing that you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You are enough exactly as you are. Your worth is not conditional, and it doesn't rely on the approval or acknowledgement of others. It is inherent, it is unchangeable, and it is the foundation upon which you build your life. Once you embrace this truth, no rejection, no disappointment, and no failure can ever take away your worth. You will walk in confidence, strength, and peace because you know that you are valuable no matter what. Sometimes rejection is divine redirection. When you're in the middle of experiencing rejection, it can feel like a blow to your confidence and sense of purpose. It can hurt deeply to have someone or even something you thought was meant for you slip away. The pain of being told no or not now can feel overwhelming. In those moments, it's easy to think that your dreams are slipping away, that you're not good enough, or that you failed. But I want you to hear this loud and clear. Rejection isn't always a reflection of your worth or your capabilities. Sometimes it's God's way of protecting you and guiding you to something greater. Rejection can come in many forms, whether it's a relationship that falls apart, a job opportunity that doesn't pan out, or a dream you've worked so hard for that seems to slip through your fingers. In the moment, it may feel like everything is falling apart, but you have to remember that God's plans for your life are bigger than any setback or obstacle. He sees the bigger picture. We as humans often focus on the immediate. We want what we want, and we want it now. But God's timing is different from ours. He knows what we need and when we need it. And if he's allowing something to be taken away from you, it might be because there's something better in store, something that aligns with his purpose for your life in a deeper way. It's easy to become frustrated and discouraged when rejection happens. We may want to fight against it, to push harder, or to force things into place. But sometimes in our striving, we're trying to keep something that wasn't meant for us in the first place. We have to learn to trust that God has our best interests at heart, even when things don't go as we expected. When we experience rejection, we must take a step back and ask ourselves, what is God trying to teach me through this? Sometimes the rejection is necessary to lead us down the right path. It's not about what we didn't get. It's about what God is trying to protect us from or what he's trying to position us for. It's important to remember that rejection doesn't mean failure. It means there's an opportunity for redirection. If one door closes, another one opens. If one relationship doesn't work out, it could be God making space for someone or something even better. We cannot see the end of the story from where we stand, but God already knows the plan he has for us. And his plan is always better than our own. It's hard to see this in the midst of disappointment, but faith means trusting that God's plan will always surpass our own desires. Redirection can be uncomfortable, especially when it forces us to step out of our comfort zones and let go of what we thought was meant for us. But in the moments of discomfort, we are often being shaped for something greater. Think about the times in your life when you thought you lost something, only to look back later and realize it was the best thing that could have happened. Maybe you didn't get the job you wanted, but later you found a career that brought you more joy, purpose, and financial stability than you ever could have imagined. Maybe a relationship ended and at first you were heartbroken, but in time you realized that it made room for personal growth, healing, and the love that was truly meant for you. God isn't just concerned with where you are now, he's concerned with where you're going. His plans for your future are far greater than anything you could have imagined for yourself. Rejection is a tool he uses to guide you toward your purpose. And while it may sting in the moment, it's ultimately a part of the process of becoming who he created you to be. Each rejection, each closed door, each no is just a redirection that is steering you closer to your destiny. The path might not always be clear, but it's still leading you toward the right destination. Think of the moments in Scripture when people were rejected, but that rejection led them to a greater purpose. Joseph, for example, was sold into slavery by his own brothers. He was rejected, misunderstood, and thrown into a pit. But through that rejection, God led him to a place of influence and power in Egypt where he saved his family and an entire nation. His rejection wasn't the end of his story. It was the beginning of God's plan being unfolded. Had he not been rejected by his brothers, he might never have ended up in Egypt fulfilling his God-given purpose. Rejection can also reveal things about us that we might not have seen before. It can strip away our ego, our attachments to things, and our reliance on external validation. It teaches us to lean on God more deeply and to trust that He has a greater understanding of what we need. When we face rejection, it's an opportunity to let go of control and to surrender our desires to God's will. We can't always understand why something didn't work out, but we can trust that His purpose is greater than our own. When rejection comes, remember that it's not a reflection of who you are, it's simply a redirection. You are still valuable, you are still worthy, and you are still destined for greatness. God isn't withholding His blessings from you, He's guiding you toward them. So instead of getting stuck in the pain of rejection, open your heart to the possibility that God is preparing you for something better. His plans are always worth the wait. Trust that He's got something incredible waiting for you on the other side. People's regret isn't your burden to carry. This truth can be liberating, especially when you've been hurt by someone who failed to see your value or walked away without understanding the impact of their actions. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that if someone regrets their decision to leave you, if they realize the mistake they made by not appreciating you, then things will be made right. We tend to believe that their regret will somehow validate our worth or make us feel better about the situation. But the reality is, their regret is not your responsibility. You don't have to wait for them to regret losing you in order to move forward with your life. It's natural to feel a sense of injustice when someone you've loved or trusted turns their back on you, especially when you know you gave your all. In those moments, we may wonder if they'll ever realize what they had, what they lost, or how much we truly meant to them. But we have to let go of the idea that their regret will fix anything. Their journey is not yours to control. Their feelings, their realizations, and their regrets are not for you to carry or even to concern yourself with. You are not responsible for how they feel, what they regret, or whether or not they recognize your worth. When we constantly hold on to the hope that someone will regret their actions, we allow ourselves to remain tied to the past. We keep waiting for something that may never come, and in doing so, we prevent ourselves from moving forward. We allow someone else's regret to hold us captive. But what if we let go of the need for their regret to feel validated? What if we accepted that the closure we're seeking is not going to come from them? The closure is in us. The peace comes when we release the expectation that someone else's regret will somehow make us feel whole again. When you understand that their regret is not your responsibility, you give yourself the freedom to move on. You stop waiting for an apology or a change in their heart because you realize that your healing, your growth, and your peace do not depend on them. It's hard to let go of the need for validation from others, especially when we've been hurt by them. We want them to see us for who we truly are, to realize their mistake, and to come back and make things right. But this kind of validation is fleeting. Even if they do come to regret their actions, their regret will not undo the hurt or fix the situation. It's important to understand that true healing doesn't come from someone else's acknowledgement. It comes from within. We also need to recognize that people's regrets are often rooted in their own struggles, insecurities, and issues. It's easy to believe that their regret is a reflection of us, that it means we were worthy of their love or respect all along. But the truth is, regret is often about the person who feels it, not about the person who is the subject of it. They may regret losing you because of their own fears, mistakes, or unmet needs. But that's not your problem. Their regret doesn't change the fact that they made a choice, and that choice was out of your control. You can't live your life waiting for someone else to figure out their own emotional baggage. Your life, your value, and your happiness are yours to protect, not someone else's to dictate. When you stop carrying the burden of someone else's regret, you open yourself up to the possibility of new beginnings, new relationships, and new opportunities. The past no longer holds you hostage. You no longer feel the need to go back to fix what was broken or to revisit what's already been lost. Instead, you can look forward with confidence, knowing that your worth isn't tied to whether or not they regret their wreck or regret their. Your worth is unshakable, and it's not up for negotiation based on someone else's feelings. It's also important to realize that people's regrets don't define you. Just because someone regrets losing you doesn't mean you need to go back or accept them back into your life. Regret is a feeling, and while it might come with its own set of emotions, it's not an invitation for reconciliation. It's a reflection of their own journey, not a reflection of your value. You are not defined by how someone else sees you, how they treat you, or whether they realize their mistakes. Your worth is constant regardless of how anyone else perceives it. You are deserving of love, respect, and happiness no matter what someone else may come to regret in the future. This understanding frees you from the cycle of seeking validation from others. When you stop waiting for someone to regret their actions, you stop allowing them to control your emotional state. You give yourself permission to move on, to let go, and to embrace new possibilities without being shackled by the past. You can now build a life that reflects who you are, what you value, and the kind of people you want in your life. You are not defined by the ones who walk away or by those who fail to see your worth. You are defined by your own strength, your own journey, and your own faith in yourself. So let go of the idea that someone's regret is your burden to bear. It's not. Your peace, your joy, and your future are too precious to be held hostage by someone else's emotions. Their regret is theirs to process, but it doesn't have to define your path forward. When you let go of this burden, you create space for something better, something more aligned with the person you are becoming. God's timing will always work in your favor. This is a truth that we often struggle to fully accept, especially when we are in the midst of waiting for something we desperately desire or believe we deserve. We live in a world where instant gratification is the norm and everything is expected to happen in our time. Whether it's a job opportunity, a relationship, a promotion, or a dream we've been chasing, we want it and we want it now. But God's timing isn't like ours. He doesn't work on our clock, and that can be frustrating when we are caught up in the rush of life and the urgency of our circumstances. But here's what we need to understand. God's timing is always perfect, and it will always work in our favor. When we are waiting for something, it can feel like time is standing still. We become impatient, questioning why things are taking so long. We start to doubt ourselves, wondering if we're doing something wrong or if we're not worthy of the blessing we desire. We look around and see others moving forward, achieving their goals and living their lives while we seem to be stuck in the same place. But just because things aren't happening according to our timeline doesn't mean that God isn't working. In fact, it's in these moments of waiting that God is often doing his most important work in us. He's preparing us, refining us, and building us for the blessing that is coming. God knows the end from the beginning. He sees the bigger picture, and he understands things we can't yet comprehend. We might only see a small piece of the puzzle, and when things don't align the way we think they should, it's easy to become discouraged. But God isn't working with the same limited view that we have. He's orchestrating everything according to his perfect will. What seems like a delay is often a detour that's leading us to something far better than we could have imagined. And while we may be frustrated by the wait, we must trust that God is moving behind the scenes, setting things up in such a way that when the moment comes, we'll be ready for it. In moments of waiting, we must also remember that God's timing is not just about us, it's about everyone else involved in the situation. Sometimes the delay is not about our readiness, but about the readiness of others. Maybe the person you're waiting for is not in a place to receive what you have to offer. Maybe the job or the opportunity isn't available yet because the perfect circumstances haven't aligned. God's timing is always about the bigger picture, and it involves more than just our desires. It's about the people, the situations, and the opportunities that will come together in his perfect timing. It's not just for our benefit, but for the benefit of everyone involved. It's also important to remember that God's timing allows for personal growth and development. We often rush ahead, wanting to reach our destination without taking the necessary steps along the way. But God understands that we need time to grow, to learn, and to mature before we can handle the blessings he's preparing for us. The waiting period isn't wasted time. It's a time of preparation. It's a time for us to grow in strength, in character, and in faith. If we rush ahead, if we try to force things to happen on our own, we risk missing out on the lessons and the growth that come from waiting. We risk not being fully ready for the blessings God has in store for us. There's also a peace that comes from knowing that God is in control. When we try to manage everything ourselves, we become anxious and overwhelmed. We worry about the future, about what will happen, and about how things will work out. But when we truly trust in God's timing, we can release that burden. We can rest